This is Fred Beck from Fred Talks Fighting. Today I'm very lucky to be joined by once again Jamie Moore. So Jamie, how's the week been?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you, mate. I've just been away on a family holiday to Tenerife, so I arrived back into the country on Monday. So a nice little break.
So how's Tenerife? I've never been there. What was it like?
Ah, you kidding,
No,
mate? Listen, I'm lucky. I'm a well travelled man. I've been lucky enough to go all around the world through boxing. Tenerife's my favourite place in the world. I promise you, it's beautiful.
so what's so good about it? Why is it your favorite place? What's better about it than other places?
It's a little island. It's a volcano, and it's literally it's a volcanic island. I just love the place. It's got literally everything you'd ever want. I went there when I was 14, on with a friend of mine from school, Clint Grundy and his family, and I met Nigel Benn there for the first time. Watched him training for the rematch with Chris Eubank, and then my first holiday I went on with my wife when I was 19 was to Tenerife, and then we've been back there ever since, and we've been going back and forward now for sort of 22 years.
Wow, you should get a house over there then. A little holiday house.
Mate, I wish I should have bought one years ago when it was cheaper, but that's the plan. I'm hoping, to be honest with you, I want within the next sort of 10 years, I want to be living sort of half here and half in Tenerife, sort of training to back and forward with all the fighters over there. Yeah.
When your acting career takes off, then you can move to Tenerife.
Yeah, of course. I think. Well, we're in talks now for me to be the new James Bond, and we're going to film some of the scenes up in Mount Ida in Tenerife, so that'll do me.
Yeah, you never know. Well, you could audition to it. You never know what might happen. So Jamie, I was at the photo studio the other day. I think it was 2 weeks ago, coming up, or just under 2 weeks ago. Chantal Caron versus Mary McGee. Did that fight go as how you thought it would go? Is that what you expected?
I think the performance from Chantel was exactly what I expected. Mary McGee was probably a little bit tougher than I expected. I knew how good she was. I knew she could punch. I knew the problems that she caused Chantel. But I thought by sort of the fifth and sixth round, Chantel would really take over and start to drive her backwards. And give her all the credit in the world. She dug her heels in and she dug deep and she did everything she could to try and keep hold of the title. But Chantel was just too good on the night, and it was a great fight for the fans. And even though the scorecards were wide, and rightly so in my opinion, it didn't really reflect Mary McGee's performance or the input she put into that fight, because it was a great fight to watch, and it obviously takes two fighters to be involved in a cracking fight. So she played her part, but Chantel was fantastic.
Yeah, she certainly was. Do you think she could have forced a stoppage at all? Maybe put the pressure on, force a stoppage, or was that the game plan to stick to the boxing?
No, she did. She did try and force her back from the midway point when I thought she could start to sort of go through the gears. But like I say, I think 2-minute rounds are something what really needs to be looked at in women's boxing. If we're talking about having a level playing field, then let's have a level playing field and let's make it the exact same as the men. The women want it, rightly so, and it would definitely suit Chantel. She's got such a good engine, and I think she would get the stoppages if the rounds were a little bit longer, because she tends to get to them after around a minute or so. But then the opponent can sort of see the finishing line already to the end of the round, and then they get a bit of a rest again. So it would definitely suit Chantel more for 3 minutes.
Oh, okay, that's a very good point about the length of the rounds. I mean, it really does suit more boxers. Like Katie Taylor, I think the 2 minute rounds really do suit her. But then again, if there's 3 minute rounds, there might be more stoppages. Just one more thing on Chantel. If she was to become undisputed at 140 and then go down and fight Katie Taylor, or Katie Taylor might come up, do you think you guys might ask for 3 minute rounds to try and get that changed? So considering that might benefit Chantel more than Katie.
I think it's certainly worth a conversation, and I think not just because for Chantel fighting Katie Taylor, but I think it should be done in general across the board. I really think Eddie Hearn everybody involved in boxing from a promotional point of view have really pushed women's boxing over the last sort of 3 or 4 or 5 years, and it's coming in leaps and bounds. The standard is getting better and better, and that's why we're getting better fights, and they deserve the pay grade which the performances would allow. And I think the only way they're going to keep progressing and moving forward is to come along par with male fighters. So they deserve it. And you know what a fight that'd be, Chantel and Katie Taylor. It really would. And if you get 2 undisputed champions, just a 1 weight separating them, then it's a huge fight. And maybe that would be the fight where the conversation could take place and go, right, okay, for the sake of women's boxing and the stage this is going to be on, let's use this as the opportunity to upgrade and move it to 3-minute rounds. Yeah,
certainly. This might be a kind of obvious question, but have 2 undisputed champions ever faced each other before in the ring?
That's a great question, and I'm really not sure if they have or not. I think, thinking about it,
it is quite rare for someone to be honest.
I wouldn't say absolutely sort of undisputed. You've got to look at Usyk. Usyk moving up and fighting Joshua is, even though there was a belt or 2 not on the line, that's probably as close as it's come. From what I can think of off the top of my head, I can't ever remember it happening in any other division across the time. So there's been plenty of world champions, but I can't ever remember 2 undisputed champions fighting each other in 1 weight separated. That's what I mean. It'd be such a landmark fight.
Exactly, they make history. I mean, Usyk and Joshua, I guess Joshua doesn't have that WBC belt, but Usyk had a relinquish belt. So when they're both holding their belts at the press conference like that, that would make for a great photo as well. Just one more thing on one of your other fighters, Jack Catterall. Is it at all frustrating that he won't be out next month against Josh Taylor?
Oh, of course it is. Of course it is. And no one's been as patient. I've never known a more patient person in my life than Jack Catterall. So to have another setback at this stage after he's waited, 3 years, was just heartbreaking for him. But these things happen in boxing. You've got to understand that it's the nature of the sport. It's such a physical sport. Injuries happen. And you just have to play the cards you dealt. So it was literally a case of, okay, we're nearly there now, but it's another 10 weeks. So even though it was devastating for Jack, a couple of days later, he was back in the gym, ticking over like he always does, and we go again. As soon as we get a little bit closer, we'll probably get to the point. He'll tick over all the way through. He'll have a little bit of a family break now, and then probably as soon as we get Christmas out of the way, we'll hit the ground running.
Yeah, sure. Imagine I got used to telling fighters that opponents pulled out. Obviously, you had to tell Martin Murray that Billy Saunders' fight wasn't happening then. I mean, how do you think Jack Catterall gets on with Josh Taylor then?
Listen, it's a tough fight. Josh Taylor's one of the best fighters in the world, pound for pound. So if I was to sit here and go, listen, my guy wins this and wins this easy, rightly so, people will go, you're insane. So we understand the magnitude of the challenge in front of us. And to be honest, I think Josh Taylor understands the difficult fight he's got in front of himself. I don't think they're overlooking this fight one bit. So just because Jack hasn't performed or boxed at this level doesn't mean he can. At some point, everybody has to step up and find the level. And the stuff I've seen Jack do in the gym and with top class fighters makes me more than confident that he can do it. Tactically, we've got to get it spot on. When you find fighters at this level, don't make that many mistakes. And Josh Taylor's in every sort of area. He's got a high score. He can punch well. He's got a great boxing brain. He can fight. He's got a great engine. So there's very, very few weaknesses there. But we have to exploit the weaknesses he does have at certain times when he leaves himself open, vulnerable to certain situations. We've got Jack has to take those opportunities. And so like I say, it's not an easy task. It's never in a million years is it going to be easy. But I'm more than confident Jack can pull it off.
Yeah, it's definitely going to make for a good fight. And do you see any weaknesses at all in Josh?
Very few. Maybe one of his weaknesses is that he likes to engage a lot, but that's also one of his strengths. So is it a weakness? Sometimes you have to sort of go into the line of fire to find someone's weakness. Sometimes you've got to take risks, especially in fights like this. You've got to take a bit of a risk to find your opportunity. So I wouldn't say he's got a weakness. I'd say maybe the only weaknesses he has lies sort of inside one of his strengths. So you've got to be brave and you've got to be willing to go there. But nobody ever achieved anything great by going the easy way.
Okay, that's quite good. That's quite a good way to think about it, really, isn't it? Just one more point, Jamie. Before I let you go, anything else? You got anything else coming up on the menu for
Got a
next?
couple, yeah. So I'm off to Dubai in what is it? Just short 2 weeks now. Rocky Fielding's fighting out there in Dubai, so I'm over there.
But you love it when your fighters fight out there in Dubai.
Oh, listen, I can't say I complain. It's a beautiful place, and it's obviously not the same as going when you're just relaxing and on holiday. But you can't say, I'd rather be going there than to York Hall, Bethnal Green. So yeah, Rocky's over there. He's first one out for nearly a couple of years now, so he's his way back in. And then I'm home for a week, and then I'm off away again abroad to Kazakhstan. I'm going to go back to Kazakhstan to an MTK show over there for a week. So that'll bring me just short of Christmas, and then week or so after that, we'll really start sort of turning the screw with Jack Catterall.
I'm sure you've never been to Kazakhstan before.
I've never been. I should have gone. Tursun Kalakmet, my fighter, should have fought out over there, or he did fight over there. I was going with him, and because of all this chaos going on with flights and stuff, Germany had stopped people flying through, so they wouldn't let me fly into Germany. My return flight was coming home also through Germany, so they could book me a different flight going out there, but they couldn't get me a return flight, and I only had an hour to make a decision. So I said, listen, if I haven't got a return flight within an hour, I'm not willing to travel because I don't want to get stuck in Kazakhstan. So Nigel Travis already had a return flight going through Amsterdam, going out a few days after me, and there was no seats left on the flight, so they couldn't get me on that flight. Nigel already had his booked, so I just let Tursun go on his way, and Nigel just went out there himself and did the fight a few days later. So all's well what ends well, but so I've still not been out there. I was looking forward to going last time as well, so I'm looking forward to. I love visiting different people's cultures and stuff like that. Really, something what really fascinates me. So I'm looking forward to it.
It does sound like a movie stuck in Kazakhstan. Some film you
Yeah. Listen, I just been stuck in hotel quarantine coming back from Dubai a month or so before it. So I was still having nightmares about that. So I wasn't willing to travel to Kazakhstan and get stuck in hotel quarantine on the way back again. No way.
Yeah, the quarantines are pretty annoying. And just one more thing, you got anything acting coming up? Any acting, any films, TV shows?
No, mate, them days are gone. I'll leave all that stuff to Nigel now. Ever since he got me filled in on Peaky Blinders, I've retired.
Yeah, that's pretty cool to say you just acted in Peaky Blinders one time and that's it, That's pretty nice to say.
Oh, mate, it was a great experience, and at the time we didn't realise how big, or sort of people thought it was going to be a big show, but we didn't know what it was. It was obviously the first series what I was in, and we should have been in it in the second series as well. Actually, they asked us to go back, and it was going to be sort of a bit of a gang rivalry, and I couldn't go originally when they wanted us to film it. I was doing Frotsgroves 2 for Sky Sports, so they rearranged it for a few weeks later. I think it was 3 or 4 weeks later, and then the incident in Marbella happened, and I couldn't go back and film it, and then the rest is history. That was the end of my acting career.
So you're not on the new series, season 5 then at all?
No, not yet. But I'm hoping that one time they try and get us back in as a cameo and I can become a villain or something like that, because I've got one of those faces for the villain. So, you never know. Let's keep that page open.
Yeah, you want to keep that page open. That'd be quite cool being in another film or TV series. But all right, Jamie, thanks for the time again, man. It's always good talking to you. So where can people find you on Instagram, Twitter at?
Yeah, Jamie Moore 777 on both Twitter and Instagram. And it was your interviews where you put your thing up saying Eddie Earn, Mike Tyson, and who was the other one?
Yeah, that thing. That did quite good likes on Twitter actually. Yeah, it was Canelo, the other one.
Canelo, was it?
Yeah.
You'll get there. You just keep plugging away. You're doing the top job, mate. So you keep doing what you're doing. I'm sure you get there.
Well, Canelo comes to fight in England, right? Then obviously maybe get him the media scrum, and then he was at the Mike Tyson was at the Canelo versus Plant thing, and Andy Perello from Boston Social, because he was just sitting down in the seats and he just went and videoed him a bit and asked me a couple of questions. So I'm 17 now, and that's 25, so I got a while. So hopefully I might make it then.
Mate, you'll have smashed it by then. You'll have done bigger stars than them by then. You'll have done multitude of stars. Don't worry about that.
Hopefully. All right, Jamie. That sounds awesome. Thanks for the time again, mate. I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Anytime. No worries, pal.